So today we have Philip Morris, AKA Mindwipe. How you doing, my friend?
I'm not doing too bad, mate. How are you?
Good. I'm okay. I'm okay. Busy day at work, and I've got my beer, and it's good to chat with you.
Yeah, I mean, likewise.
So let's ask you the first question.
Oh, no preambling then. Straight into it, yeah.
Straight into it, mate. Straight into it. What was your first computer, mate?
My very first computer.
Yeah.
Now, does this include games consoles?
It can do. It can do.
In that case, the very, very first piece of tech I owned that was computer game related was those old black and white Pong consoles where you flick the switch to change the game.
Right. Okay.
And I had one of those when I was about 4, 5-ish.
Yeah.
But the first proper machine I had is back when I was about 6, 7. Yeah, so we're talking early to mid 80s. And I got fascinated with a schoolmate and neighbor's home computer that they had because they were playing games like Football Manager and stuff, and it was the ZX Spectrum Plus.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've got to have one of those. I have got to have one of those. I'd go around to my friend Simon Frayne all the time, play on his machine and stuff like that. He couldn't get rid of me. Yeah. and then I come back and I'm there going, I want one of those, but they weren't cheap back then. You know, if you think about it, back then it's changed a lot. So this thing would have cost about 129 quid at the time.
Something like that, yeah.
And that's before you buy the tape deck to go with it. Yeah. Because don't forget, the Spectrum Plus did not have a built-in tape deck like the Plus 2 did.
No, that's right.
So I got one of those. That was officially my very first computer, and I used to love playing it. The first game I ever played on it was Horace Goes Skiing, all the Horace games.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I fell in love. What was the game I used to love playing on that the most? It was a Beyond title, and it was almost like a Dungeons and Dragons style adventure game. Came in a big yellow box. I can't remember what it was called though. It was the title was by Beyond Software.
Yeah, they did a line of games.
They did, yeah.
Beyond Software. Yeah, I do seem to remember those. Yeah, I don't know any of those myself, anyway.
And it's like Checkered Flag, chess. I even played. Would you believe? I didn't even realize how popular that was. I even played Carrier Command on the Spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah, you try and find that anywhere soon on an original cassette anymore.
Right, Carrier Command. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't actually remember that on the Specky.
Yeah, it was on the Specky. I'd forgotten about it until I did the research for Uncle Art, which we'll talk about at some point later on. But yeah, it was on there.
Yeah. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Spectrum Plus was my first computer.
That was your first. So where did you go from there? What was your next love, if you like?
Well, I had an interim because I also had a Spectrum Plus 2.
Yeah.
Which was kind of really cheaply made by Amstrad, by the way, if you don't mind me saying. Because the one thing is, I basically, long story short, I was about 10, 11, mouthing off to my parents. My stepdad, you don't mess around with. He went in the room and he went to disconnect my computer to confiscate it from me because I was being disobedient. Fair point looking back on it. Trouble is, he ripped it out of off the desk quite violently and pulled not only the power lead out the back of the Spectrum Plus 2, but the entire socket from the board.
Oh, dear.
And I couldn't get it repaired. No shops actually would repair a Spectrum.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went for a period of about 2 years, 3 years, till I was in about what we'd class year 8 of high school. And then I got as a Christmas because I was going into my year 9 choices and exams and stuff that you do,
like your options. Yeah.
Your options, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. So my parents got me a Commodore 64.
Right, okay.
Because it had a good WordPress, WordPerfect package type thing.
That was the way you got round your parents. That was. Oh yeah, I need it for school.
No, actually, I didn't ask. They just got it me. They actually got it me. I was quite content to not have a computer. I was going out and about with friends and stuff. I was getting out,
Fair enough. Yeah.
But then I got that, and then I went round to one of my friend's house. His name was Paul Spencer, and his dad invested in the love of my life. Yeah, and I was there, absolutely jaw on the floor with it, and that was the Commodore Amiga 500.
Oh yes, yeah, what a machine.
Yeah, I was like, no way! This thing does this?
Yeah.
And I played things. The first game I played on that was Treasure Island Dizzy.
Okay.
I love that game. Treasure Island Dizzy on the Amiga is the balls.
Yeah, but of all the games, you'd expect that to, you expect to have played it on the Specky, but you went straight for that.
No. The first time I encountered a Dizzy game was on the Amiga. It was one of the first ones I played on my friends as well.
Yeah.
Also, Carrier Command on the Amiga.
Yeah.
Which was absolutely. I fell in love with that game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Paul's dad wouldn't let me play it a lot because it was his game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he didn't want me overriding his save disc.
Yeah, that was always a worry. Yeah.
But then, like I said, I fell in love with that. So I came back, and there was no way in hell at 399 quid at that time I was ever going to afford an Amiga. So a year or two went by. I still had the Spectrum. I got into doing my what do you call it? The practicals before you do your exams, where you have to have your evidence. I forget what that's called as well.
Mock exams?
No, not the mock exams. It's where you build up like your stuff. Coursework.
Yeah, coursework. Yeah.
God, it's been so long since I've been at bloody school.
Well, me too.
True. But I was doing my coursework, and during that time with the C64, my English teacher took pity on me because I'm dyslexic and my handwriting is absolutely awful. Because basically, long story short, my brain functions faster than my hand can keep up, so it ends up looking like scroll.
Yeah.
He took pity on me, and because I was on a limited budget and stuff, every Friday after school, over the weekend till Monday morning, he lent me a dot matrix printer from school, and then allowed me to hook it up to the thing, type out my coursework and stuff. He did warn me I'd have to do my English stuff, handwritten for the exam, but the coursework got me an A star as a result. And that was a pretty good teacher for that. So I used the Commodore for that. And then I think it was 1991 when the film The Lawnmower Man came out.
Oh, what a film. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember renting that on VHS from the local VHS stores when we still had them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not Blockbuster, I mean the homegrown ones.
Yes, yeah.
And one of the things at the beginning of that VHS was a competition to win a Commodore Amiga. The 600 had just come out, as well as the CD TV.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So they had a daily, a weekly, and a big prize. The big prize was the CD TV, which was kind of crap if you think about it. I begged my mum, I said, ring the competition. She rang it, and I won it.
Oh wow! Okay.
I actually won an Amiga 600 from that VHS competition.
Wow. Okay.
And I swear to God, I came home from school, and my mum says, something on top of your bed for you. Yeah, it's just arrived today and stuff like that. I went upstairs, and it was the party Amiga 600 box set.
Yeah.
Right on top of my bed. I grabbed the box, didn't even bother unpacking it, ran out the front door because we've got a big, whopping great big grassy green area that surrounds all the houses, and I'm going, yes!
Oh man!
Then I came back in and I set it all up, and that game came with things like Bart versus the Space Mutants and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah. I seem to remember that.
Yeah, and Rastan, I remember that. I like the arcade version of that better though.
Rastan Saga.
Yeah, Rastan Saga. Yeah. But it came with all those and stuff, and I was smitten, fell in love with it. Saved up because I started working as a paper round and also as an assistant to our local milkman. So I was saving up all my pocket money, and then I got myself the actual Commodore monitor to go with it.
Okay.
Yeah. And built up, and that's also when I started doing music because I found out about Octamed and started falling in love with that. But it was the Amiga 600 winning that pack that spawned everything off.
What a thing to win. Absolutely fantastic,
especially at that year, in that time of the era, because, like I say, the Amigas weren't cheap.
No. I mean, I started similar to you. First console was an Ace-Tronic. Then
I remember those. Yeah.
Then We upgraded to the Atari 2600.
Oh, I played them. My uncle used to have one of those. It was a great little machine.
Yeah, and then first computer was a Specky, rubber keyed.
Oh, you had the original Spectrum 48K.
Yeah, but it didn't last very long. There was a fault on it.
There always was with those, especially on the Kempston ports.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was. I think it just didn't power up at the time. Easy fix now. But yeah, I remember my dad taking it back to Woolworths, and then he came back with this other Spectrum because the Plus had just come out.
So you got a Plus with the actual
Plus, and I was like, "Oh, look at that! Wow!"
Yeah.
And I think after that it was the 128K Specky, the toast rack version, which I absolutely loved.
I know the one you mean.
Still love that. Probably still my favourite Spectrum, to be fair. That one.
There was a lot of 128K titles though for it.
No, you had, if I remember right, you had Never Ending Story with it.
I remember. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and was it Danny Thompson's Decathlon? Or
that
something?
was a 48K. I used to have that.
Yeah, there was some kind of there was another sports type game with it. I certainly remember that, which was 1 to 8K only.
Right.
But you're right. There weren't many 1 to 8K only games.
Mm.
They started to on the B side, you'd have a 1 to 8K version with just some extra music or something. That's what they started to do with games.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you.
But
far cry from when you got the accompanying cassette tape with the proper music with it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, I was still at high school. I was still mad on arcade games. Any arcade game I was playing. But we couldn't. I couldn't. You know, my parents couldn't afford a Commodore Amiga. And the first time I saw one was my friend Simon Berry, and we went round his house on a dinner time, and he showed me Menace by Psygnosis.
Oh right, yeah.
Absolutely blown me away. Then he showed me Pac-Mania, full screen. Arcade perfect. Yeah, but yeah, I had a Atari ST instead of the Amiga for a little bit.
I never liked that machine.
I loved it. It was my alternative to the Amiga. But I wanted an Amiga.
I suppose the only reason I didn't like it is because I'd been used to the Amiga, and you've got to admit the polar chip on the Amiga is first rate when it comes to audio. Yeah. Whereas natively on the Atari there is no sampler chip.
No sampler chip, but it had built-in MIDI. So all the
which was pointless because nobody was making any music for MIDI for the ST.
Probably at that time, but I think certain bands started using the ST with Cubase afterwards.
Oh yeah. We used to have an Atari ST STE actually in my high school because we used that in the music department.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was mainly used as a musician's machine rather than a gaming platform.
Yeah. But I loved it all the same. But yeah, that when I first got hold of an Amiga, eventually, it was fantastic. Yeah, noise.
You just never. It's like the first time you fall in love.
What a machine! What a machine! And as you can probably see,
just
in the
a crap company that ran it into the ground. Hint, Commodore.
Yeah, unfortunate. But as you can see in the back, I've got two there, sat underneath that TV. 500 and 1200.
500 and 1200.
Yeah.
I've currently got a 1200, which I've restored. Actually, that's another story regarding that as well, because my 600 took it up to my uncle's. And we were playing, and this is the first time I ever done a LAN party, in a way.
Yeah.
Because I hooked my 600 up to his 500.
Okay.
Via a laplink cable.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were playing multiplayer Wing Commander.
Brilliant.
And then I made the mistake of because don't forget the one thing about the 600 is it had that really crap power brick, the one that was so light you could drop it and it would like float down.
Yeah.
It was that light.
Yeah.
It blew the power on it. Couldn't get a replacement, and it also blew out the voltage regulator on the 600.
Right.
Could not get that replaced. So for a year I was then no computer. And then my friend up the road, a neighbour of mine, who I'd known since I was a little kid, she was upgrading her to a PC.
Yeah.
what she was doing. But she had a 1200 that she'd only had for about a year. So she let me buy it off her in installments.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I've still got it. It's upstairs.
Wow.
I've not even had to recap it with
Yeah.
the capacitors.
Okay. Okay.
It's lasted the test of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I had a 600 for a while. Used it. Got involved in bands, so it went on stage with me, and we played along to it. Well, what we used to do was we programmed all the songs, put that towards a drum machine,
all right.
recorded it all onto a 4-track, and then we all went on stage, guitars, singing. Yeah, made a band out of it. It was.
It's similar. It's similar in essence to what press play on tape and machine supremacy do.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know how long they've been doing it for, but we
about as long as we've actually known about the damn machines. They're as old as us.
Yeah. Oh well, there you go. There you go. Right then, mate. So you're a musician. So how did you start off with that?
Surprisingly enough, as I was saying earlier, when it came to the Amiga 600, my uncle was toying around with one of the Amiga cover discs that he got off like CU Amiga and Amiga format, and it was a program called Octamed 4.
Okay.
And he was just messing around with, IFF samples and stuff like that, and then learning how to piece them together using the interface, which is basically, you put it in, you put an effect on it, and you put an effect on it using certain codes.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is pretty good. So we worked on a tune together where we were just we just took a load of random stuff. Batman Returns had just come out. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
On home release. So we literally sampled a load of stuff from Penguin, Batman, Catwoman, everybody. Yeah. And we strung them all together as kind of like this stupid little thing you got. It's like, ho, I am Batman, blah, 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 and stuff like that with a bit of and then I started getting a bit of a tune going on. So I thought, okay, fair enough, this works. And then, obviously, in high school, I was doing music courses as well, if it was music technology at the time. And, like we mentioned earlier, the schools usually had a MIDI Atari ST, which is okay if you're using a Roland synthesizer and keyboard and stuff.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, I wanted to be a bit more creative with it. So what I did, I actually, sorry, I'm just pouring myself a drink here.
That's okay. I've got mine.
What I did, yeah, you've got yours. What I did was basically, I cobbled together, because one of the things we did at school was you've got to create your own piece of music and then play it for the class. This is part of the coursework.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people just covered songs, played it on a flute, did it on the Atari ST and stuff in the actual thing. Not me. Went home, went in my room, did a complete cover dance beat version of the theme to Star Trek 3.
Okay.
Yeah. I've still got that somewhere. It might be on my website, on that channel. But either that or the Octamed one. But sorry, I'm getting ahead. But I did that as my thingy piece, and everybody's going, because I didn't do what most people did, was they recorded it onto an audio cassette or played it through a saved MIDI file via the equipment in the class. Right. No, I brought the whole damn Amiga in.
Okay, yeah, as you do, yeah.
Set it up on a monitor and played the thing with Octamed. Now, the one thing about that, Mr. Felton, my music teacher, also doubled as an IT teacher. And he recognized the idea that with some of the Octamed coding sequences that you do on the 4 tracks or 8 tracks if you split it, yeah, that he recognizes that as being coding as well in a fashion. It's not true coding, but it's in a fashion, of coding.
Yeah.
And he gave me a double commendation for the fact that not only was I using computer skills, but I was also being creative as a musician.
Oh, brilliant!
And that's how it really started. And then it just blossomed from that. Once I started college, I was still doing little chip tunes and stuff. I got it active in '94 and '95 with the Octamed bulletin board system. Spoke with TJ Cannonen, spoke with Ray Burt Frost. A lot of people I knew on there who actually have done many a game score and stuff. But back then they were just kids like us, messing around with tunes. One of them's Mark Knight. He's the one who did Wing Commander.
Wow.
Yeah, for the Amiga. And by the way, I know you've got a copy of that archive. If you look up Mark Knight's Tubular Bells on Amiga, he does the entire album on Amiga.
Wow. Using Octamed.
Using Octamed. It's very faithful.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, Octamed wasn't software that I ever used. It was always
Pro Tracker.
Well, starts off with Sound Tracker, then Noise Tracker, and then ended up Pro Tracker. Yeah, loved it. Pro
Tracker and those trackers, were more geared up for people who wanted to actually get the compression in to put stuff into games. Alistair Brimble and a few people always used it.
Oh, classic artist.
Whereas Octamed was more designed for pure music. It wasn't designed for you to use Octamed and then put it into a game title or a program.
Right, yeah, okay.
Even though it gave you the option to save out in that format if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But it was more for the creative aspect rather than get it all into a game. Because one of the things when I went to college as well is, like I say, I got into the demo scene with a few of my college mates.
Yes.
They were all doing all the graphics with Amos and all that stuff, and they got me to do the music. And I earned a nickname because it was really irritating for a while, because I had the Soundtracker file libraries, for the samples, and they had that one pan flute that every bugger used. Yeah. And I used it once too often, because my friends at the college, when they took me out for a beer and stuff, turned around and went, basically, "You're now the panpipe flute king."
I think Enigma used it, didn't they?
They did, and that's why they took the mickey, because Enigma used it a lot.
Yeah.
So I did a couple of demos with them. Unfortunately, they've gone to the annals of history. I can't even find those anymore.
Oh, okay.
They were cheesy things. It was things like, we were college students in the 90s when the height of Pop Will Eat Itself, the Wonder Stuff, etc. were at the height. So it was all grunge and, Cheese Fest and Comedy Central and Rick V's and Bob Mortimer and all that nonsense.
Yeah.
And so we did a thing called a couple of things called Dog Chunks. I don't know where the hell we got that name from. And we did one called Who Ran Off with the Salt. And one of the things that I had to do is basically do a piano concerto to an animation that my friend Mike Thorpe did of Arnold Schwarzenegger's face grinning, and his teeth were dancing in time with the music.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it was just it was surrealism. It's almost Monty Python-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we were doing then. And then I left college and moved on from there and didn't do anything for a few years until I got into it was more live action music at that point.
Right, okay.
I used to do especially up in Leeds, I used to do the pub and club scenes with a friend of mine called Jet Joan, and not to be confused with the actual famous musician Jet Joan. Yeah, she used to do like a karaoke cabaret, and I sang a couple of karaoke's on there, and she was quite impressed, and she actually took me under her wing, brought me on board, and we went round, and she'd do a set, I'd do a set, stuff. We'd all get paid, we all get dropped off back on, life's good. I did that for about 3 years, and nothing more. Still did my occasional bit of music and stuff like that, but nothing more of that came about until about 2006 then. So music-wise, that was my early beginnings.
Called Dave Lowe, and there it is, Uncle Art Music. Yeah, he's got the T-shirt. I've actually got that T-shirt, but it's the It's a lighter coloured one.
The yellow one?
I don't think it's... No, it's certainly not yellow. It's... what would you call it? It's not white either. It's like off-white. It's a nice T-shirt. Nice T-shirt. But
I've got the same one. It's in my motif in the other room.
Oh, there you go. There you go. But yeah, I backed that Kickstarter and had the...
How many times did you back it? Because it went 3 times before it was successful.
It was probably the last time then. If it went, I thought it'd only gone twice.
No, 3 times.
So if it was 3 times, it would have been the last time that I backed it. I may have backed it the second time, and that's when it failed. I didn't know. About
It was
the first time.
the second time it failed. It failed was by, would you believe, £1,000.
Really, that was it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That didn't happen the third time around because Stephen Usher backed it for £1,000.
Wow, brilliant. But yeah.
Sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves because these people don't even know what we're talking about.
I hear that you had an involvement with that project.
Yeah, I did.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Basically, like the rest of you, I was a punter. I've always admired video game musicians and stuff. And to point the phrases, David Lowe is one of the most iconic yet underrated musicians of the 80s and 90s when it comes to video game music for the Spectrum, the Commodore 64, the Amiga, the Atari ST. And he's got a lot of accolades and firsts under his name as well. For example, remember we were saying about digital sampling on the Atari ST? He was the first person to ever make it work with programming only.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't sample like you get like an IFF or a WAV file and stuff. He coded it in to oscillate the cone.
Wow.
And then recorded the thing and then got the programming to emulate what he'd actually done. And that's where you got the famous Star Glider.
Yeah.
That's where that came from.
Right, okay. Oh, that's fascinating.
And I was gobsmacked by this because I didn't realize that Dave Lowe was as well known as people made him. You know, he was like, yeah, it's Dave Lowe. It's like Alex the Brimble. It's Bjorn Lynn. It's Rob Hubbard, you know, to name but a few. But I realized Dave Lowe put a lot more into this than we realized. Yeah. And then when he did the Kickstarter, I fell in love with it because then I realized, hang on a minute, this is Dave Lowe who did the theme music to Frontier Elite 2. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, oh, yes, I am backing this project if they're doing it with an orchestra. Yeah. And it started off with that, with me being a pleasure and being a fanboy. But then they put out the Kickstarter updates where they were asking for advice and stuff like that. And a few of us got together because we set up a forum, actually. I actually set it up for a few of the Kickstarters to get together. And Holly and Dave were there going, we can't get all of our old music off the original machines or from the DAT tapes. They're just too bloody old. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Some are degraded. Some are just not working anyway. Is there any way we can get some of this crowded back and recovered so we can actually work with it? And I went, yeah, no problem. So I set it up, and a few people got involved. We got a lot of the Atari ST ones from a friend of mine. I forget his name now from the forum, but he got all the ST versions because he had one. He had all the games. So basically, he just sat there and recorded all of the game music.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, from his ST. A couple of the lads from C64 Audio, you might know of them. Yeah, they recorded all the C64 games.
Okay.
But the bulk of his music was on the Amiga. Muggins here did all that.
Nice.
Literally. And I found stuff that he didn't even realize he'd done. I mean, did you know the Starglider had a second theme?
No.
Everybody remembers the Starglider Sting, yeah?
Yeah.
But it had a second theme, and everybody went, what's that from? And he went, man, that's from my old band, Reproatry, called Games.
Okay.
And that's why when he did the remake album, there is a song in there called Games, and it's the main theme. It's the actual in-game theme for Starglider.
Wow.
So he worked on all that. We put it all together. And it got to the point where I'd done all this. I also did a lot of promotions. I spoke with a few people like at BBC Tees I put a few videos up of mine, which is on that channel there, advertising the Kickstarter just to get it some backing and stuff.
Yeah.
Jamie Treacher and a few others, people we know, yeah, all backed and kept promoting it and stuff. But Dave turned around to me and said, "Do you know, Phil, you've done so good a job, yeah." And I put in for the Kickstarter. I wanted 2 albums. The original idea of it was 2 of everything. It cost me about 300 quid backing.
Okay.
And the idea was, if I ever pop my clogs, one goes to Tyler, one goes to Jaden. I've got something for my sons to actually say, Dad was involved in that, and that's what we've got. Yeah, they never got it. It's all on the wall now. But that aside, I backed that £300, and then there was a £600 pledge where you could actually go down to Abbey Road Studios and watch the orchestra perform Frontier.
No, that would have been nice. Yeah,
it was. I got invited just for the on gratis for all the help I'd done. I didn't even have to pledge for it.
Yeah, sounds like
I was stoked. Yeah. I was like, whoa! You're inviting me down to Abbey Road Studios? He says, yeah. You're on the guest list. Come down. You just have to make your own way down. I said, fine, like me.
Straight down there.
Yeah, but the one thing is, I went to the wrong St. John's.
Oh right, okay.
I had to get a second train back from St. John's to St. John's, where Abbey Road is in Westminster. There's 2 of them, and I booked my ticket for the wrong one.
Oh, okay. But you got there in the end.
I actually was only about I was about 10 minutes late, but I managed to make. I was there for the beginning of it all. But so, yeah, that's like with the music, you know, doing all that stuff leading up to that Kickstarter, and it's gone on from strength to strength since. There's the documentary as well, don't forget.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, which was the behind the scenes of why they made it. In fact, hang on, if you've got the camera on there.
There we go. Posters up there.
Signed as well.
Nice.
But yeah, the Uncle Art documentary is basically the history of Dave Lowe as well. And I didn't realize this until I actually watched the final product, that he was on New Faces in the 70s.
Okay.
With a band called Scobie Smith. And then obviously he's worked with his brother Jeff, who has also become a good friend of mine now. Yeah. And it's lovely to see. You know, I've gone from fanboy to family friend.
Yeah.
And I don't take any, how can I put this, bravado in that.
No.
Very humble. I'm very humble around Dave. If I screw up, I'm really self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
But especially around Holly as well, his daughter. Jesus Christ, you do not mess with that woman. So, hi Holly, if you're listening, love you, sweetheart. But yeah, I don't want to mess with that woman.
Yeah. Hi Holly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm guessing that you were a fan of the original Game Elite.
Of course.
Yeah.
It was funny story with that as well. You remember I was saying earlier when I had a C64?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, me and my friend Tim, he had 2 portable TVs in his house. So I brought my Commodore 64 round to his house. He had his Commodore 64 at his house, and we set them next to each other, and we pretended that we were playing in the same universe, going to the same systems and stuff right next to each other. There was no connection. Yeah, we were just pretending. And I loved the original Elite. Yeah, in fact, I think it's this is just a personal opinion, I think it's more honest than what's currently playing.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into that because it's not my place. But it was an honest game, you know, and it was a challenging game, you know, but very simplistic in its its approach. You flew from system to system. You didn't get raided by pirates. You tried not to crash into a star when you came out of hyperspace. You certainly tried not to crash when you tried to dock. And then you were trading around to make credits and credits and credits and credits.
Yeah.
And that was the whole idea. It spawned the entire genre of those type of games.
Well, two big obstacles really were you were generally frightened when you're in hyperspace, or were the Thargoids going to
I was about to say, yeah,
which space?
That would well, unlike the weird thing is, I'll give Elite Dangerous its due on that one. I wish they'd put that in more often. You know, the hyper interdiction.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that back when it was in the original game, it was like boom, oh, unknown space, and then you saw that ominous octagonal ship,
and it was completely random.
It was random at that point, yeah.
And then the second challenge was docking.
Oh God, yeah.
until you could
afford
trade
a docking computer
and afford a docking computer. That was like the second challenge.
How many times did you crink your neck just trying to keep the orientation?
Yeah, trying to turn the room. Come on!
He's making a left turn. He's making a left turn.
So was the 64 the first machine that you played Elite on?
No. On my uncle's machine, he had it on Spectrum. I did play it on that briefly, but I was younger then, and I wasn't actually au fait with it. I was like, yeah, that's an interesting game. It's like wireframe, and me at that point, I was into platformers because I was a kid.
Exactly the same as me. Yeah.
But when it came to the 64 version, I was like, this is a good game. And then obviously with Elite Dangerous when it came out, no argument. I was unfortunately enough not to miss out on that backing.
Yeah. Did you not play it on the Amiga then? Surely you played it on the Amiga.
Oh, behind me.
Yeah, there you go. So, did you play the original on the Amiga?
The only one that was on the Amiga was Elite Plus.
Yes. Yeah.
It wasn't exactly the Amiga, but it was as close to... on the Amiga, it wasn't as close to the original, but it was close enough.
It was close enough, yeah. That was the main one that I played, that was. I own a copy of that one behind you, Frontier Elite 2. Which is a nice package, isn't it, that?
Oh, yeah.
Nice package. So, what have we got? Let's have a look. So, we've got the original star map. There we go, in all its glory.
That bit clearer?
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
Then we've got... Oops, dropping a thing. Hold on, let me pull this back up, because this thing is so old it can tear easily.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Then we've got the Gazetta.
Yeah.
I forget what the Gazetta is. Oh, it's a diary of who's who in the actual Empire and Federation, what the universe is.
Okay.
Yeah, Sol, Earth, steeped in history, blah blah blah. It gives you a brief history. It's kind of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Then you've got
which is a whole story in itself.
Then you've got the manual, which is flaming immense.
Yeah. Don't you miss them? Don't you miss them?
And then the one I love the most is Stories of the Life and Frontier.
Yes.
Which is the storybook.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, everybody who's played Elite Dangerous, for example, knows of Jacques' station in Colonia.
That's it.
This book tells you Jacques' origin.
That's it. It's the lore, isn't it? Elite lore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yeah. Some of it was inspired, and the best part of it is we know the person who wrote it. You know the person. You've been to a LaveCon?
Been to LaveCon many times.
Right. Well, you know the person who wrote it then, Dave Massey.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Fantastic.
And he's been there.
Yeah.
And then the final thing I've got here. Oh, but I don't know why it came with 2 discs. The whole game is on 1 disc.
Oh.
The disc 2 is blank. I assume they were just giving it you as gratis as a save game disc.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I was going to say I've got 2 discs.
Yeah, the other one's blank.
That I didn't know.
Oh God!
I thought it was a swap out disc.
Hang on. This is how complete this box set is.
Wow.
Game Tech.
Limited edition quality T-shirt.
Yeah, can't get it.
No.
Game Tech doesn't exist.
No.
And then the final thing.
You never sent off for that T-shirt then?
No, I got this. This was a rebuy at one of the conventions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you've got that.
Yeah, you key map.
Code.
Yeah.
Key map.
Key
Yeah.
map, yeah.
But yeah, love Frontier Elite 2. And like I say, when we were doing the Uncle Art stuff. Oh, by the way, one of the songs that one of the game's music that Dave Lowe did.
Yeah. Oh, Grand Prix. Okay.
Yeah.
Marco Pro's Formula One Grand Prix.
Yeah. But
I was going to say that's on the CD, isn't it?
no.
Is that?
Oh,
that
yes,
one?
it is. Yes,
Yeah?
it is. Yes,
Okay.
it is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, they do it with the mariachi band.
Right.
You know, I'm picturing Q from Star Trek going, you know, because it's the, like I said, mariachi band.
Yeah.
But going back to what we were saying about how we did this with Uncle Art and all that came back, and everything regarding that type of music and stuff, and Frontier especially, it all came around from that Kickstarter, moved forward, and then I managed to get all the captured recordings done. I think I did about 80 of them. And then with the video footage for, there's a sequence in the Uncle Art documentary where it showcased all the video games. I also recorded every single one of those using OBS and Amiga emulator. It was the easiest way to do it. But the one thing was the conversions. They were massive. Because it's going onto a Blu-ray, I had to do them at 4K resolution. Now you think about that. An Amiga trying to do 4K resolution is impossible. So what I did was I compromised. I said, right, okay, I'm not going to upscale this. I'm going to record it at the maximum resolution that I can record things at, which for the Amiga emulator is round about 1080p.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll record it at 1080p, even though the game itself is scaling it down to 480p in itself, because every Amiga game was like, what, 480, something like that.
So was you using UAE?
Win UAE, the emulator,
Okay.
for recording that. It's the easiest way to do it rather than me hooking up the Amiga to a captured card or stuff like that.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah.
Plus you can choose what model you want as well and add memory.
And that usually helps, especially if and to get some of the resolutions quality as well. I also needed to up the chip RAM, which my physical Amiga does not have.
Yeah.
And I am not willing to spend nearly 300 quid just to buy a chip ROM.
Yeah, it's quite expensive, isn't it?
Just a tad. Yeah. But the point, like I say, the bottom line of it is, I recorded all of that footage, got it up to the scale. There's a lovely sequence in there where it's got all of the montage of video games and stuff. Not just the obscure games, not the most prolific ones in the documentary, which was Beneath the Steel Sky, Star Glider, and Frontier Elite 2, of course.
Yeah.
And I was gobsmacked by the way they actually did it. They took that raw footage at 25 frames per second, 1080p, that I managed to do for them, and condensed it into a 2.5-minute video that absolutely looked brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm going to give all props to West Yorkshire Video. Yeah.
Right then, mate. So we're both fans of Elite Dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been playing it for many years now.
Mm-hmm.
We've both been involved in Hutton Orbital, one of the groups, and live radio and events like LiveCon. Now, I remember on one of the shows, you used to do a retro show.
Yeah, used to very briefly. I think it lasted about 6 episodes of the Retro Vault.
Retro Vault, that's the one. Go ahead and tell us about what Retro Vault was about.
Well, let me start by saying no detriment to Hutton Orbital and the way they do their live radio and stuff. The only reason it lasted 6 episodes is I could not keep up with the demand of what they wanted on time schedule. That
Okay.
I'm saying right now, it wasn't pulled because of any animosity. It's just I couldn't keep up with what they wanted me to do. And you've got access to all the archives of that, so you'll see what I'm on about.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, the Retro Vault. It was basically it came from surprisingly enough, it came from a little sketch from Hutton Orbital Radio. Went back when they were doing sketches. Yeah, with our good friend Dave Pearson doing Cecil B. Trumpington.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
But it all stemmed from it all stemmed from the fact that basically the guys who regularly hosted it couldn't be there. I can't remember exactly what the reason was. So they put Dave in charge. So effectively, to coin the narrative, Cecil B. Trumpington was in charge of Hutton Orbital for that show.
Not good.
And he was invaded by the Vikings.
Yeah.
The Vikings clan. And I'm there actually trying to save the day by crawling through the pipes of Cubicle 3. Anybody who's known the Retro Vault, not the Retro Vault, sorry, Hutton Orbital knows that Cubicle 3 is literally a toilet.
Yeah, you don't want to be sent to Cubicle 3.
Yeah. And I had to crawl through the pipes just to get out of it to save him from self-destructing the entire station. That was a good sketch, by the way. But the Retro Vault came from that. Basically, what it was like a further show showcasing old retro game tunes. Yeah. From the 80s, 70s, 90s, 2000s and stuff. Even some remakes of modern stuff as well.
Yeah.
And there were some good ones that I actually chose. I thought it was a great thing for the nostalgia crowd, and they like it. But unfortunately, even though the show was great, I could have done that in podcast form like we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And I could be doing that continuously right now and be 300 episodes strong.
Yeah.
The only reason it didn't is because it was going out on a schedule on live radio, and because they wanted to put adverts in between, and they wanted to do it in a certain thing, I had to do it track by track. So I had to do my recorded piece, save it. Do my music piece, save it. Do my recorded piece, it was too much. No disrespect to the guys, it was just too much bloody effort. It would have been easier for them just to give me a slot. Yeah.
Do your thing.
And give me a slot with all the adverts all in as one podcast.
Yeah.
And then upload it and play it. Kills an hour.
Yeah.
But they wanted it to reflect their own adverts for their sponsorship as well, which I can appreciate and I understand. But it was just too much like doing live radio than doing a podcast.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the choices and doing it, and a lot of people like yourself actually did enjoy listening to it.
Yeah. I think you did have a little bit of a fan base there, mate. Absolutely.
Me to my old podcasting days, because Retro Vault wasn't the first time I ever did anything like that.
All right.
Back YouTube, for example, I think they're still on there. I used to do 2 shows on YouTube as video documentaries, not documentaries, video podcasts.
Yeah, video podcasts.
One was Amiga Retro Games. Lasted 2 seasons. It was going to get a 3rd season, but things happened. Yeah. And that was from 2006 to 2009, 10-ish. And then there was The Edge as well, where I showcased a lot. The one thing I liked about The Edge is I was doing every other gamer a solid, because we didn't have dedicated subscriber channels, Patreon channels, blah, blah, blah. It was like, you did a podcast, you got noticed if people liked you. What I did with The Edge was I showcased those people for them to be checked out. It was like a condensed show. It's like a who's who of what that week. And so I did, it was called The Edge, and it basically, in between video game ads that were legit at the time, which is free advertising for the games companies.
Yeah.
I showcased maybe that gamer and that gamer and that gamer and that gamer and that gamer playing all different games. you know, and then in my description and in the video, pointing them to the channels for people to check out. That was what The Edge was all about. That all got kiboshed when YouTube changed its policy when Google bought them.
Right, okay.
So that ended as a result of that, because they changed all the copyright law, you know, everything got changed at that point. So I stopped doing it. But those were the earliest video blogs, The Edge and Amiga Retro Games. Before that, I was doing podcasting, pretty much what you're doing here.
Yeah.
But I was involved with, which 3 podcasts was I involved in? Yeah, I was involved with, first of all, the first podcast I ever got involved with and became a regular co-host on was the Argus Array.
Argus Array, okay.
Which was a Star Trek podcast run by Victor Mornington. Everybody knows Victor Mornington now as being Vaping with Vic. But he ran the Star Trek Gamers website, and for 10 years did a lot of stuff. He had a few people who actually came and went when it comes to co-host, but the last co-hosts he had was me and my friend Chris Jones. And also I worked as a follow-on from that with a friend of mine called William Walker from Michigan, and we did over 300 episodes of the Elite Force podcast, which was basically covering the week's news on everything to do with science fiction TV and movies.
Right, okay. So
300 plus episodes.
Wow. That's a... So it was nothing to do with the game.
And that's before I retired, and then Ashley took over and did another 2 seasons.
Gotcha. So it was nothing to do with the Elite, the game. It was just the Elite Force.
It was Elite Force podcast based on Sci-Fi, but based on the game.
Yeah.
For the title.
Yeah.
Same with Argus Array.
Well, there was a Star Trek game, wasn't there, called Star Trek Elite Force?
There was, and there was Elite Force 2 as well.
Yeah. So that's 2 of the podcasts. What was the third one?
So we got Elite Force, Argus Array. Ah, yeah. SNS Radio.
Okay. So what was that?
Sunday Night Showdown. Basically wrestling.
Right, okay. So you're into your wrestling?
I was. Not so much these days.
No.
But the one thing is I used to host and help out with Jeff Jackson from Arizona. He lives in Alaska. Yeah, he lives in Alberta, Canada. Sorry. But he's from Arkansas. He's originally from.
Yeah.
And he's a former wrestler himself. And all the people I've been talking with, or I talked with, not on the with that role, I wasn't actually a host or a person like we're doing now talking.
Yeah.
I was the guy behind the bloody scenes.
Yeah, he was the guy in the chair.
I was the guy in the booth going, "Can I say that, Dave?"
Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, are these podcasts still available online, do you know?
They are via archive.org. So if you look for anything to do with SNS Radio Network,
yeah,
Elite Force Podcast,
yeah,
and the Argus Array,
right,
and if you put Mindwipe after any of them, you'll probably find the damn archive.
Okay. Well, we'll get some links up, so people can check those.
They're worth a listen to. Don't get me wrong. A lot of them are dated. Yeah. I mean, one of my interviews I loved was with when I was doing the Argus Array, and then it moved over to the Elite Force podcast because we were on a 2-year NDA for it.
Wow. Okay.
And it's when I did the interview with Derek Chester, the writer for Star Trek Legacy. And he was telling, after 2 years, he was able to spill the beans of why that game was such a pathetic failure.
Wow. Right then, my friend. I hear that you've been doing some modding for a Star Trek game.
Well, I've done modding for 2 Star Trek games, in fact.
2 Star Trek games?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
The first one was back in just after 2005, 2006, we started work on the game Star Trek Legacy, which came out on Xbox and PC.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Xbox version we couldn't modify because Xbox doesn't let you modify Xbox games.
No.
So we did it for the PC game because I'll be honest with you, Mad Dog Software, which no longer exists, and now under Rockstar. Yeah, they were bought out.
Yeah.
In fact, they're now called Rockstar New England. They did that. One of the last games was they got the license to, with Bethesda Software as the publisher, to Star Trek franchise. Prior to that, it was Activision, and they brought out this game, which basically was to tie in all 5 generations of the show. So starting with Jonathan Archer with the NX-01, all the way through to Picard, Cisco, Janeway, everything. Yeah, and it was. That's the wrong one, by the way. That's the second game, but we'll get to that in a minute. But with Star Trek Legacy, it was more a case of when we were actually modding it. It wasn't a case of changing the content. It was just fixing all the F-ups that they actually did when they released the damn game.
Yeah. Normally find that with the modding community. But
yeah, first things first, it didn't have a multiplayer online. It was supposed to. It didn't work. We fixed it. Second thing we did, we fixed all the models. They look like really lame, low resolution models and textures. We fixed that. Moonraker, bless his constructs, he's a legend in the actual community when it comes to actually doing starships and stuff. He made the Enterprise 1701A look like the beauty she really should be. He really went balls to the wall with that. And there's one thing also in that as well, which actually follows on into, I mean, Jesus, I can see that there in the background with Armada 3, all the credits. We did a lot of things with that game, but going to that in a moment. We also utilized some of the assets from Legacy Ultimate Universe in Armada 3. But just to finish off, Armada 3 was great. Ultimate Universe was the one that tested our mettle. We went from nothing to actually all of us working together to make a mod that worked. And then a few of us went on to do, with that experience, to make Armada 3 for Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion, which is what you're seeing in the trailer credits there. I mean, Jesus, that's a lot of credits.
That's a lot of credits, yeah. So what was what were you responsible for yourself within the mod?
Right. Well, within both mods, I was primarily audio engineer.
Okay.
So I was responsible for making sure all the voiceovers worked in the right place.
Yeah.
All the sound effects worked in the right place. And all the music worked in the right place. At the same time, that was what I primarily did on both games. But also on Ultimate Universe and Armada 3, I also did the UI interfaces with Photoshop. Yeah, and that's not easy. Actually, it is easy. It's just you've got to know where you're around, what coordinates are what, and then map them right. But I did all the graphical user interfaces, like what you're seeing there, for example, that menu.
Yeah.
Yep. That I had to map and do right. You can see what you've got there in the background. Good comparison, especially when it comes to the Ultimate Universe stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I was saying, we started off with Ultimate Universe. We changed all of the graphics and stuff because they were just lackluster. And there was no multiplayer. It was supposed to work with GameSpy Arcade, and it never worked. So we fixed it. We literally just spent all the time fixing it. And as you can see in that background shot there, you know, the lovely difference that we made, you know.
Yeah.
And it gained popularity. In fact, we came to the point where we were in the modding community and won ModDB Game of the Year. I think it was 2009. We actually won that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still use ModDB. It's a great site. Yeah.
Mm. But following on from that, I know you're still watching Legacy there. But we also did Star Trek Armada 3 a few years later, which is a spiritual successor to the previous Activision games, Star Trek Armada 1 and Armada 2. And what we did was we based that on Sins of a Solar Empire Rebellion, a 4K, RTS, where you build your empire, you build basically a not World of Warcraft, Age of Empires style game,
Yeah.
but in space.
Yeah.
And we based it around that, and we managed to do some wonderful things with that game. One, I was in charge of doing all the music, which I relished.
I'm sure you did.
I also did for that one 3 of the 4 HUD interfaces. So I think I did the Klingon one. That took me ages to do. And the Romulan one especially. And then I had to do the Borg. My friend Max Lowe, who actually was lead director at the time of the project, he's moved on since, he did the Federation. He had the easy job. It's like L-cars. Cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste, cut, paste. Yeah, he had the easy job. I had to hand draw everything. And get it to fit in the actual game.
Yeah.
And then I had to do all the music. I had to do all the sound effects and the voiceover. And the voiceovers for them was easy as hell until it came to the hero. Because every faction has hero characters. So for the Federation, it's Picard, Cisco, Janeway. For the Empire, Klingon Empire, it's Martok, Gowron, yeah, and Kor. For the Cardassians, it's Gul Madred. And I had to sample every single one of these painstakingly from every episode of Star Trek that ever actually voiced them, just to get them the right cadence and right voice.
Yeah.
And believe me, I swear to God, I always said this to everybody. Yeah, it took me all this time to do all of that stuff. It took me at least 9.5 months to get all those voices right.
Yeah.
And the one voice I never want to hear again is Robert O'Reilly. Glory to you and your house. I never want to hear that sodding voice ever again. I heard it daily for 12 hours when I was getting that right in the game.
Yeah.
But we did a really good job of it. And the first time around when we released Armada 3 for Sins of a Solar Empire on ModDB, it didn't win. Do you know what it was beaten out by? Why?
Go on.
Euro Truck Simulator multiplayer.
Oh, right. Okay.
Sorry, Euro Truck Simulator 2 multiplayer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. I was like, yeah. The following year, we beat every, pardon my expression, we beat every game down, hands down.
Yeah. Right then, mate. So you used to do quite a bit of singing, I hear. There was a thing on Twitch called Twitch Sings.
Oh, yeah, Twitch Sings.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, I love that program. That was like, do you remember on Xbox 360 when they experimented with live broadcast gaming, and they did 1 versus 100 each week?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now imagine Twitch Sings being exactly like that, an online karaoke bar. You put up a seed of a song.
Yeah.
Somebody can sing along with you and seed that and seed that and seed that. And it works as a community. People like your stuff. You like their stuff. You reciprocate. You sing with them. You find their catalog. You do that thing. I'm not doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this all of a sudden. But
Yeah.
but you get the point. You get to grow a community and like-minded people, like you do with any gaming support.
And this was through Xbox. Is this how it started?
No, this is Twitch Sings. It's through Twitch.
Through Twitch, yeah.
And it went for 2 years, and it grew from strength to strength. People who I would never have even thought of watching grew to become good friends through commonality of music.
Yeah.
And good singing together, chatting with each other, off when we're not singing and stuff like that. And I still have a lot of them on friends list today.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And they always, I can go months without saying hello, and then I'll turn up and they'll go, Mindwipe, it's nice to see you again. And I'm going, yeah, I've got all the stuff. I feel like Kermit the Bloody Frog at that point. Yay! But but the one thing is that I always remember the people's songs. Some of those folks have even forgotten they even did them. So I preserved a lot of them. But the one thing I loved about Twitch Sings, it was the one time that singers could express themselves and come together as a gaming community.
Right, okay.
And it was really fun. You really would have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't actually partake, you would have enjoyed just watching it. What annoys me is because of all the DMA stuff that goes on with music artists and stuff now, with they had to shut the damn program down.
Yeah, shame.
Yeah, they had to shut it down, which is annoying because technically they weren't breaking the law. They were actually getting all of their backing musics and stuff from legitimate license, and they were paying the license fees as well from legitimate karaoke vendors like Sunfly or Karaoke Fun and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, so that's where all the backings came from. The one thing that they were actually being DMA'd on is the fact of people actually singing the sodding songs.
Okay, so it wasn't the music playing then?
It was the fact that people were singing the songs.
Yeah.
And Twitch had no choice but to shut it down. They were really apologetic. They really were.
Okay. More so than YouTube would have been.
Oh, YouTube doesn't give a flying monkeys anyway.
Yeah.
But I really, really did enjoy those days with Twitch Sings. That brings us, like I say, right up to pretty much present day.
So when did that start then? When did Twitch Sing start?
Well, when I first heard about it was through a friend of mine who has a Twitch channel called I Has Beard, and he mentioned it to me in early 2019. And he said, I went, oh, that sounds great. And I thought, oh, it's only open to betas. And he went, I'll send you a referral. And he sent me a referral, and then I started singing. And the first song I ever sang on there was with who is now a very good friend of mine called Y69. Yeah, a lovely Kiwi from New Zealand who actually can sing just as easily as me. Be prepared by the Disney song, be prepared,
Right.
that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and she can do Shanzi, which is Whoopi Goldberg's character, in a flat second.
Wow. Okay.
So I still love actually hanging around and talking with them, because when we talk about it, it's not about just the music. It's reminiscing the experience.
Yeah, yeah, and all the people you got to meet and sing with, and yeah. No, that's a shame.
It's like the Elite Dangerous community. You get to expand your universe.
Yeah. Oh, the amount of friends that you make through that game.
Any community.
Well, I suppose any community. Yeah, there are some toxic ones out there.
Oh yeah.
But I suppose you get that with everything, though, don't you? There's a lot of toxic people out there, but yeah, you get that with all walks of life.
It's all right. I'll just blame Britney Spears.
yeah. Now it's a shame that finished. When did that finish?
It finished just before the beginning of 2020.
Oh, right, okay.
It finished around about this November, December of that year of 2019.
Yeah, and there's no way around it, is there?
No, there isn't.
Bringing it back.
But the one thing is, a lot of us were box clever. We saved our videos.
Yeah.
Because the one thing is, Twitch gave us all access to, and I've got to give them sneaky credit for this one.
Yeah.
They gave us access to the API.
Right.
So then one lovely guy developed a program, and it goes, go to that this address, that ID, and it brought up every single video you have ever done. Right click, bulk download.
So they shut that down. So then you've I'm guessing you've uploaded those videos to YouTube.
Since then.
So does YouTube then give you a copyright strike on those videos?
No. They try to monetize it.
Right.
They turn around to me and say, basically, you can't monetize this video. I'm there going, I never wanted to in the first fucking place.
Yeah. So you basically just get that little warning. If you
that's it.
If you want to make money off this, you can't. And it's like,
well, I wasn't planning to anyway.
That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, I've got 300 videos I can't make money off. Do you think I'm really going to try?
Yeah. No, that's fascinating.
But it was a fun time, and they should bring something like that back again.
Yeah.
It was one of the first few social media events that actually brought social media in line with, family and community.
Yeah. The only way something like that's gonna come back round is if it'll be a pay service. So then
nobody's gonna pay for that, you know that.
But nobody's gonna pay for it, are they? That's it. But that's the only way that's gonna happen. It's a shame. It's a shame, but it's the truth. If you believe there's nothing up their sleeve. Right then, mate. Future projects. Or current projects. Is there anything you're working on at the moment?
Well, like I said, the only thing I'm working on at the moment is site transfers, but that's by the by, that's daily stuff. Future projects. I'd like to do the conventions.
Yeah.
I'd like to do some more promotion of the old Amiga stuff as well. Yeah, because I've only really touched on the the touch paper, if that makes sense, to light that fire. I've not really made it ablaze yet. And the other thing is, I wouldn't mind just I don't know. You've actually got me on the cuff there now.
That's okay.
I
can edit the silence bit out.
No. You're making me think.
Yeah.
What would I like to do going forward? I would like to at least be in a position where I'm actually doing something positive that people like.
Okay.
Be it for a charity or just personal endeavor. I'd love to actually republish my music again.
Right, yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't do that.
Because you had some music on Bandcamp, didn't you?
I had it on Bandcamp, on SoundCloud. I had albums.
Yeah.
Right now, I think I want to actually have a little bit of a quiet time.
Yeah.
And then eventually get back into doing stuff gradually.
Yeah.
It would be the most sane thing to do. Especially with everything changing day to day in our current climate.
Yeah, that's true. So there's no more music projects?
Not at the moment, no.
Not at the moment.
I did have one album actually on the go. It's about 3 tracks in, but it's been sat on the shelf for about 18 months. So nothing's going on with that right now. Yeah. Okay. In fact, you heard one of the tracks, if I remember rightly. It was called Solar Winds.
Right, okay. Yeah. But that's something you can return back to when you're ready.
Oh, agreed. Eventually, but not straight away.
Yeah. Right then, mate. Last question. Now, this is a question I'm asking all the guests. Okay. So, if you had a time machine, where would you go?
If I had a time machine, you're asking the guy who's a Doctor Who fan.
Yeah. So, if you had a time machine, where would you go?
Where would I go? Hang on. Time machine only, not time and space.
Time machine only.
Time machine only, so it's within the limits of our own planet. Okay,
Yes.
I had to ask that because
No.
otherwise it would be very vague.
That's that Doctor Who fan coming out.
Yes, I know. That's why I thought about it. I had to ask. So within our own confines of our planet's history,
Yeah.
if I could go anywhere, where would I go? Well, there are two. One, I would probably go back. I'd probably go back to 1966.
1966. Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
I think it was 1966.
Yeah.
And watch the Beatles come back from America.
Yeah. That'd be an interesting one, wouldn't it?
The other one would be Glastonbury, 1995. I'd love to relive that.
Oh, right. Okay. 90. I'm trying to think if I was at that one. Who played 95?
Oh, for everybody, Pulp, Dodgy, Mannix, everybody.
I think I was there that year.
Yeah, so was I. Trouble, it was a big venue.
Yeah. Oh, Glastonbury's huge. Yeah, absolutely huge. I do miss.
I'd love to go back to that one again just to relive it.
Yeah, I do miss the festival days. To be fair, Reading and.
I just miss the pit toilets.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I miss the festivals. I don't miss the toilets.
No, I don't. Everybody doesn't miss the toilets.
No. Right, listen, mate. It's been fantastic having you on this podcast. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
it's been great. It really has been good. And I shall catch you next time, my friend. Thank you very much.
No worries, my friend. Take care.
Take care.
And to use an old euphemism of mine, live long and play longer.
Listen to the man. Thanks, Mindwipe.
Take care, mate.